We're going to fire up the training of more UK workers. And in doing this, we will drive growth.
But beneath this hopeful announcement by the Prime Minister lies a stark reality. The United Kingdom is grappling with a massive outflow of skilled talent. How did Brexit transform the UK's labour landscape into a crisis? Why is the nation struggling to attract and retain the expertise it desperately needs? Since the Brexit vote, legal red tape has diminished EU migration, and an over-reliance on non-EU labour has compounded an already fragile workforce. The result? The UK is no longer the prime destination for global talent, falling behind European neighbours like France and the Netherlands. The numbers are telling. A 330,000 worker shortfall in critical sectors from construction to healthcare. As businesses scramble to fill roles, questions loom. Can upskilling the domestic workforce bridge the gap? Or has Brexit left an irreparable mark on the UK's ability to compete on the global stage? Let's dissect Brexit's legacy and uncover the real reasons why the UK is losing its skilled workforce and what this means for the future. Brexit, a single word that reshaped the trajectory of the United Kingdom. It wasn't just a political decision, it was a vision. Back in 2016, the Leave campaign painted a picture of a brighter, independent future. The promises were clear. A new era where British jobs would be prioritised for British citizens, reclaim sovereignty, regain control over borders, and achieve economic independence. For millions of voters, these promises weren't abstract ideas, they were solutions to real frustrations. It's no wonder these promises struck a chord. The UK's immigration rate had surged, with net migration reaching over 330,000 annually in the years leading up to the referendum. Many voters, particularly in areas hardest hit by job losses, felt left behind and blamed free movement of EU workers. The Leave campaign argued that Brexit would give the UK the power to prioritise British jobs for British workers. On paper, it all sounded ideal, but the big question is, did Brexit deliver? Has it lived up to these ambitious goals, or has the reality been more complicated? For starters, the early warning signs were hard to ignore. As soon as Brexit became a reality, cracks began to form. Businesses faced worker shortages, industries struggled to adapt, and the labour market started to shift in ways no one had truly anticipated. Let's take a closer look. The post-Brexit labour market in the UK has undergone seismic shifts, with some of the earliest warning signs pointing to substantial workforce shortages across critical sectors. As the dust settled on the referendum, one reality became increasingly clear. The end of free movement has left a significant gap, with approximately 330,000 fewer workers in Britain compared to what the workforce might have looked like under the old immigration system. Let's break that down. Free movement was a cornerstone of the UK's relationship with the EU. Before Brexit, it allowed EU nationals to live and work freely across the UK, supplying labour to industries that heavily relied on them. But with the end of this system, the UK experienced a significant shortfall of EU origin workers, about 460,000 fewer than expected. While some of this gap was partially offset by an influx of 130,000 non-EU workers, the overall net loss remains a substantial 1% of the labour force. This decline has disproportionately hit sectors that rely on less skilled workers. The most notable impact has been felt in transportation and storage, which lost around 128,000 workers, roughly 8% of the sector's workforce. Wholesale and retail, down by 103,000 workers, representing 3% of its labour force. Accommodation and food services, which saw a reduction of 67,000 workers, or 4% of the sector. Manufacturing and construction, each losing tens of thousands of workers, amounting to around 2% of the employment in these sectors. This shrinking labour pool wasn't just an inconvenience for businesses, it was a wake-up call. Employers across the country began voicing serious concerns about their ability to fill roles and sustain operations. For instance, the hospitality industry struggled to maintain staffing levels post-pandemic, with restaurant owners citing recruitment challenges that forced them to limit hours or, in some cases, close entirely. Similarly, the construction sector, already grappling with supply chain disruptions, faced additional hurdles due to a shortage of skilled and semi-skilled labor. Healthcare, a sector vital to the nation's well-being, also faced staffing crisis. While the increased arrival of non-EU workers helped plug some gaps, particularly in skilled roles like doctors and nurses, the absence of EU-origin support staff created additional strain. This disparity underscored an emerging trend often referred to as skilled worker flight, where gaps in the workforce could simply be filled by non-EU arrivals due to differences in qualifications, training, or a willingness to take up certain roles. Beyond specific industries, these shifts have wider implications. Britain is now the only G7 country with an employment rate lower than its pre-pandemic level. Over 500,000 individuals have become economically inactive since the pandemic, either retiring early or stepping back due to health issues. This has compounded the problem of labour shortages, creating a perfect storm of reduced workforce participation and a diminished talent pipeline. As we reflect on these early warning signs, it's clear that the UK's post-Brexit labour market is at a crossroads. The ripple effects of worker shortages have touched nearly every aspect of the economy, from strained public services to struggling small businesses. Let's take a closer look at how Brexit has accelerated the departure of highly skilled professionals from the UK, leaving even the most competitive industries scrambling for solutions. Brexit promised a new era for Britain, but one of its most profound impacts has been the exodus of skilled workers, a trend that's reshaping the UK's labour market in unexpected ways. Let's break it down. In the years following Brexit, thousands of EU nationals left the UK. By 2022, the Office for National Statistics reported a sharp decline in EU citizens working in critical sectors, particularly in professional and technical roles. But why did so many leave? For many, Brexit brought uncertainty. The new immigration system made staying in the UK far more complicated. The introduction of stricter visa requirements left countless skilled workers tangled in red tape. Even those who had been in the UK for years faced challenges proving their right to remain. Many opted to return to their home countries or move to other EU nations where their qualifications and contributions were more readily valued. Then there was the perception of a less welcoming environment. Brexit shifted attitudes towards immigrants, leaving many EU nationals feeling unwelcome in a country they had once called home. Job security for EU nationals took a hit as companies navigated new regulations and market uncertainties. Skilled professionals, including scientists, engineers, and healthcare workers, began looking elsewhere. This exodus isn't just anecdotal, the numbers tell a stark story. According to research by Indeed, the UK now ranks second to last in attracting highly skilled workers among Western nations, outperforming only Spain. In contrast, countries like France and the Netherlands saw far greater interest from skilled professionals. Businesses have been vocal about the fallout. Around 35% of employers surveyed by Indeed pointed directly to Brexit as a key obstacle to hiring skilled foreign workers. The problem is most accurate in sectors like digital technology, medicine, manufacturing, and teaching, where chronic skills shortages predate Brexit but have worsened dramatically since. Compounding this issue, the influx of non-EU workers, while significant, hasn't offset the loss. Smaller firms in particular struggle to navigate the complexities of hiring non-EU staff, leaving high-skill vacancies unfilled. By 2023, nearly 70% of employers reported difficulties in recruiting skilled workers, a dramatic rise from prior years. The message is clear. The UK is losing the global race for talent, And this skilled worker flight isn't just about vacancies, it's about innovation, competitiveness, and the future of key industries. How this loss of talent is reverberating through the nation's financial and industrial landscape? Let's explore. Brexit didn't just alter the UK's political landscape, it profoundly reshaped its economic foundation, and not for the better. A recent report by Cambridge Econometrics, commissioned by City Hall, paints a sobering picture. By 2023, Brexit had slashed the UK economy by nearly £140 billion, with London alone shrinking to over £30 billion. The average Briton is now £2,000 worth off, whilst Londoners face an even steeper loss of £3,400 per person. The long-term outlook is even bleaker. If current policies remain unchanged, the economy could lose an additional £300 billion by 2035. This economic hit hasn't just been about numbers, it's deeply personal. Job losses are staggering. The UK now has 1.8 million fewer jobs than it would have had if Brexit hadn't happened. The financial services sector, long a cornerstone of the UK's economy, is reeling with 388,000 fewer jobs nationwide, including 92,000 in London. Construction isn't faring much better, with 523,000 jobs lost nationally, of which 81,000 were in the capital. These losses are tightly linked to the exodus of skilled workers discussed earlier. Industries reliant on EU talent like tech, finance, and healthcare are struggling to fill roles. For example, the NHS, which has long relied on EU medical professionals, faces critical staff shortages. The UK tech sector, once a global leader, is now grappling with recruitment gaps, slowing innovation and competitiveness. The ripple effects extend across the economy. Businesses, already strained by labor shortages, are contending with lower productivity and rising costs. Employers report having to pay premiums to attract the limited pool of skilled workers available. Meanwhile, reduced competition for high-skilled jobs has stifled innovation, a key driver of economic growth. Brexit has also worsened the UK's cost of living crisis. Between December 2019 and March 2023, food prices surged by 30%, with a third of that increase directly attributed to Brexit. A separate study from the LSE revealed that Brexit added an average of £210 to household food bills between 2019 and 2021, costing the UK consumers £5.8 billion collectively. London, a global financial hub, has been particularly hard hit. With 290,000 fewer jobs, the city's growth trajectory has shifted dramatically. Principal economist Shyamul Patel from Cambridge Econometrics remarked that London's economy would have grown faster if Brexit hadn't taken place. Looking ahead, we project that Brexit will continue to have an impact on the UK and London economies in the medium term. The broader implications of this economic stagnation are hard to ignore. From reduced foreign investments to the loss of skilled labour, the UK is losing ground in global competitiveness. Businesses, especially in high-skilled industries, are raising alarm bells about the long-term consequences of this talent and capital flight. How is the UK government planning to tackle the growing challenge of skilled workforce shortages? Let's analyse the policy response for the government to the challenge. The UK government has made tackling the country's skilled labour crisis a priority, but are its current measures truly up to the task? Let's break down the initiatives, their challenges, and whether they match the demands of modern businesses and the global workforce. First, the numbers speak volumes. According to the Department of Education, nearly one-third of all job vacancies in 2022 were directly linked to skills shortages. This isn't just an inconvenience for businesses, it's a serious drag on the UK economy. In fact, a study by the Recruitment and Employment Confederation estimates that skilled shortages cost the UK a staggering £39 billion annually in lost GDP. And this isn't a new problem. It's a chronic issue that has worsened post-pandemic and post-Brexit as EU nationals left the UK workforce in significant numbers, creating a gap that's proven difficult to fill. Recognizing the urgency, Prime Minister Keir Starmer recently announced the launch of Skills England, a governed body designed to address the skills gap by funding targeted training programs. The idea is simple: identify the sectors most in need and tailor training courses to equip workers with the relevant skills. Starmer described it as an initiative to fire up the training of UK workers and accelerate productivity through innovation. But as promising as this sounds, does Skills England go far enough? While its mission is commendable, the challenges it faces are immense. For one, the bureaucracy surrounding such large-scale initiatives often slows implementation. Funding allocation, program design, and ensuring alignment with the needs of industries require coordination that can take years to materialize. Meanwhile, businesses are struggling now. The Skilled Worker Visa program is another key policy aimed at addressing labor shortages. This post-Brexit framework allows employers to hire skilled foreign workers provided that they meet certain requirements such as job offers from approved sponsors, salary thresholds, and proficiency in English. While this system has brought in talent, its rigid structure poses challenges. For instance, the salary threshold of £25,600 excludes many critical but lower-paying roles, such as healthcare, support workers, and education. Employers have also criticized the administrative burden of obtaining sponsorship licenses and conducting labor market tests. Furthermore, the scope of these policies raises questions. Are they truly aligned with the needs of a fast-evolving global workforce? Industries such as tech and digital economy are crying out for data analysts, cybersecurity specialists, and AI developers. Meanwhile, foundational sectors like logistics, healthcare, and education are struggling to recruit. Yet the current measures seem to adopt a broad-brush approach rather than providing targeted solutions for high-demand areas. This lack of focus risks diluting the effectiveness of these policies. Competing nations in Europe, by contrast, have adopted more flexible and attractive measures. Countries like Germany and the Netherlands have streamlined visa processes, lowered thresholds for entry, and introduced incentives for upskilling both local and international talent. These strategies not only address labor shortages, but also position these nations as innovation hubs, leaving the UK struggling to keep pace. The UK's challenges don't end there. Public perception plays a critical role in attracting talent, and post-Brexit Britain is often viewed as a less welcoming destination for foreign workers. This perception further reduces the pool of potential skilled migrants, making it harder for the UK to compete on the global scale. In summary, while initiatives like Skills England and the Skilled Workers Visa program are steps in the right direction, they face significant hurdles in execution and relevance. Businesses are demanding agile, forward-thinking policies that match the pace of global competition. The question remains: can the UK government adapt quickly enough to turn these initiatives into meaningful solutions? As the UK steers its path forward in a highly competitive global landscape, the question of whether it can reverse the decline in skilled workers remains a critical one. With the right policies, investment in education, and a more inclusive approach to immigration, the UK has the potential to rebuild its workforce and restore its position as a global leader. Yet, this is not a challenge that can be solved overnight. The stakes are high, and the consequences of failure are far-reaching, not just for the economy, but for the social fabric of the nation. As we look forward to the future, it's worth considering. Can the UK reclaim its place at the forefront of global talent, or has the window of opportunity already closed? The choices made now will shape the country's future for generations to come.